Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Here, we embrace true femininity. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update.
As the heavy winter air blanketed the sleepover, the group of giggling girls settled into their cozy fort, their breaths fogging the windows as they exchanged secrets and whispered conspiracies. Unbeknownst to them, a figure lurked in the shadows, carefully avoiding detection as they slipped into the room. It was me, their cross-dressing friend, who had been desperate to join in on the fun but had been too afraid to reveal my true self. My heart pounded in my chest as I crept closer, the familiar scent of their favorite childhood snacks and the flicker of candlelight guiding my way. Just as I was about to sneak past the makeshift barricade, a sharp gasp filled the air, followed by an accusatory voice. "Wait, who's that?" In an instant, all heads swiveled in my direction, their eyes widening in shock as they took in my feminine appearance. The room fell silent, and I could feel the weight of their stares burning through my skin. One of the girls, her face flushed with anger, pointed a shaking finger in my direction. "You're the one who's been sneaking into the boys' locker room, aren't you?" she spat out. Time seemed to stand still as I stood there, trapped in the harsh glow of the flickering candles. My heart raced, my breath coming out in ragged gasps, as I tried to formulate a response. I wanted to deny it, to explain myself, but the words stuck in my throat. Finally, one of the other girls, her voice trembling with uncertainty, spoke up. "But, it's Sarah, isn't it?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's just Sarah in a dress, isn't it?" The tension in the room eased slightly as they all exchanged confused glances, their disbelief written clearly on their faces. The girl who had accused me earlier glared at me, her expression a mix of anger and uncertainty. "Well," she huffed, "I'm not gonna sleep in here with some guy who's been snooping around the boys' locker room." With that, she stormed out of the fort, slamming the door behind her. The rest of the girls exchanged nervous glances before turning back to me. Are you sure you shouldn't go after her?" one of them asked timidly. I shook my head, feeling tears well up in my eyes. "No," I managed to say, my voice cracking. "I think I should just leave." The other girls nodded in agreement, and slowly but surely, they began to file out of the fort, their whispers growing fainter with each step. As I watched them leave, my heart felt as if it had been torn in two. I knew that this was the end of our friendship, at least for now. With a heavy heart, I gathered up my things and crept out of the room, leaving behind the only life I had ever truly known. The walk home was a blur of cold wind and tears. I couldn't believe that they had turned on me, that they had been so quick to judge and so slow to understand. I felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders, but at the same time, I had never felt so alone. When I finally arrived at my house, I climbed into bed and cried myself to sleep, the memory of their accusing eyes and the warmth of their friendship haunting me through the night. Days turned into weeks, and I tried to move on with my life. I still went to school, but I avoided the girls who had been at the sleepover like the plague. They hadn't reached out to me, and I was too ashamed to try to explain myself. My grades suffered, and my parents grew concerned. I began to spend more time alone in my room, lost in my own thoughts and memories. It wasn't until one day, when I was sitting alone at lunch, that I saw her across the cafeteria. She was sitting with her friends, laughing and enjoying herself, and for a brief moment, I wanted nothing more than to go over and talk to her. But the fear of rejection was too great. I finished my lunch in silence, and as I walked back to my locker, I knew that I would never be able to forget what had happened, or forgive myself for being so afraid. One afternoon, as I was walking home from school, a familiar voice called my name. I turned around, expecting to see one of my former friends, but instead, it was her. The girl who had accused me all those weeks ago. She looked nervous, her hands fidgeting with her backpack straps. "Sarah," she said hesitantly, "can I talk to you?" I hesitated for a moment, my heart racing, before nodding slowly. She took a deep breath and began to speak. I want to apologize, she said, her voice barely audible. I shouldn't have accused you like that, and I shouldn't have believed them when they said it was you. I was just scared, you know. I've always been the kind of person who tries to fit in, and when something like that happens, I panic. I listened to her words, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness wash over me. It's okay, I said finally, my voice steady. I understand. She looked up at me, relief flooding her features. Can we start over? She asked, her voice trembling. I hesitated for a moment, before nodding slowly. Okay, I said, extending my hand. I'd like that. And with that, we shook on it, our hands intertwined for a brief moment before she let go and stepped back. I could see the weight of the world lifting from her shoulders, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe things were going to be okay. We started spending time together again, going to movies and hanging out at each other's houses. Our friendship wasn't the same as it had been before, but it was better than nothing. As time passed, the memories of the sleepover began to fade, replaced by new ones of laughter and companionship. I realized that sometimes, in the midst of our fear and uncertainty, we can lose sight of what's truly important. And sometimes, it takes someone else pointing it out for us to see the truth. I knew that I would never be able to forget what had happened, but at least now I had someone by my side who understood. High school came and went, and we both went our separate ways. She went to college out of state, while I stayed close to home, attending the same university as my boyfriend. We kept in touch, texting each other every now and then to catch up on each other's lives. As the years went by, our friendship grew stronger, and I realized that the bond we shared was something truly special. Eventually, she met a wonderful guy, and they got married. I was her maid of honor, and she was mine. As I stood beside her on her wedding day, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and gratitude. Pride in her for overcoming the challenges she faced and finding happiness, and gratitude for the second chance she had given me. After the wedding, she moved to a different state with her husband, and we didn't see each other as often. But every time we spoke, it was as if no time had passed at all. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, and we could finish each other's sentences. It was then that I realized that sometimes, the most important things in life aren't things at all. They're people. And she was one of the most important people in my life. As the years went by, we both faced our own challenges and struggles. I lost my job and had to start over, and she dealt with the heartache of miscarriages and infertility. Through it all, we were there for each other, offering support and understanding. We shared tears and laughter, our friendship growing stronger with each passing day. One day, out of the blue, she called me with an incredible piece of news. After years of trying, she was pregnant. I remember feeling a mixture of joy and fear, but she assured me that she was going to be okay. And then, a few months later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. I was there with her in the delivery room, holding her hand as she brought new life into the world. It was a moment I will never forget. Now, our conversations revolve around our children, sharing stories of their first steps and their first words. We commiserate over the challenges of parenthood and celebrate the small victories. Our friendship has become a bond that transcends time and distance, a lifeline that connects us no matter what life throws our way. And as I look back on all that we've been through, I am grateful for every moment, both the good and the bad. Because it's those moments that have shaped us into the women we are today, and the women we hope to be tomorrow. As for the girl who accused me all those years ago, well, she's no longer a girl. She's a woman now, and she's learned from her mistakes. She's found her place in the world, and she's found happiness. Sometimes, I wonder what might have happened if we hadn't gone through all of that. But then I look at my own life, and I realize that everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. Because sometimes, in order to find the person you were meant to be, you first have to find yourself in the midst of chaos. And in that chaos, you find the strength to face your fears and forge your own path. And that, my friend, is the greatest gift of all.